While strikes are unfolding in Iran, some are worried that Iran could activate so-called sleeper cells capable of striking inside the U.S. Jerica Duncan has the latest.
Tonight, federal law enforcement officials are warning of a heightened security threat in the U.S. following those deadly strikes in Iran. Security has been increased in dozens of cities across the country. Hundreds marched near the White House. And during this protest in New York City, drones and helicopters monitored the scene from above.
We are in a heightened threat environment.
NYPD Counterterrorism Deputy Commissioner Rebecca Weiner.
I wonder if you had any heads up that this was happening, or did you learn like everyone else this morning?
I think we've all been reading the tea leaves over the last several weeks about what could transpire, and that gave us opportunity to make sure that we're leaning into all of our partners.
Does the threat level increase now that we know the supreme leader has been killed?
The threat level increases whenever there's a conflict like what's happening in the broader Middle East, regardless of a leader being killed or not. Our response is to focus on New York City and what the risk is to our city.
Deputy Commissioner Weiner says that their primary threat is that of a lone actor. When it comes to the sleeper cell, she wouldn't go as far as to say whether they are tracking them, but what she would say is that they are leaning into every tip and investigating every lead. Jerica Duncan, CBS News, New York.
Well, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth took to social media today to explain the United States attack on Iran. Hegseth said, quote, "The Iranian regime had their chance, yet refused to make a deal. Now they are suffering the consequences." He went on to say that Iran has targeted and killed Americans and has always sought the world's most powerful weapons to further their radical cause. Meanwhile, in Oklahoma, Senator Mark Wayne Mullen also posted on X saying, quote, "May God bless and protect our men and women in uniform, the greatest peacekeeping force in the history of the world. Americans are praying for your safety in this mission." Well, back here in Arkansas, Senator John Bozeman made this comment on X, saying, quote, "The world's leading sponsor of terror can never have nuclear weapons. We are praying for our courageous service members and the people of Iran who have suffered under this brutal regime for far too long." And in Siloam Springs today, Senator Tom Cotton addressed a crowd at John Brown University answering questions about the strikes on Iran. In front of a crowd at John Brown University, Senator Tom Cotton offered insight into why he says the United States and Israel engaged in strikes against Iran.
We destroyed their nuclear facilities last year. That ended, for the time being, their ability to enrich uranium. But you, as I'd said for 10 years, you can't end it forever. If they're determined enough, they might return to it. Senator Cotton continued to explain the threats that he says Iran posed to the area. They have enough missiles to destroy all of Israel. They have enough missiles to destroy our bases in the Middle East. As the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, Cotton says that he agrees with President Trump's decision to move forward with the strikes, even without the approval of Congress.
I think it was the right decision. Iran still has nuclear ambitions. They have a vast missile arsenal that threatens the United States. They still support terrorists like Hamas and Hezbollah. And for 47 years, they've been killing and maiming thousands of Americans.
Cotton expresses hope that this will end an era of violence in the region.
Hope it means is that the threat of a violent, revolutionary Iran will finally be eliminated.
Tonight, we're also hearing from Iranians in Arkansas as they process news of the Supreme Leader's death. 5 News reporter Laura Castleman is here with their perspective.
Yep, that's right, Bo. Local Iranians I spoke with today say that until now, they've been scared to return home. But now they say they're finally seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, the end of what they call a brutal era for their homeland.
I grew up there 30 years.
Hassan Samani grew up in Iran and now lives in Northwest Arkansas.
I felt every moment of life under Islamic regime of Iran.
Samani is among Iranians filled with hope.
Everyone is happy right now.
And focused on the future.
Removing this regime from Iran not only is the best thing for Iranian people, but also essential for the whole world security.
I would say the future is so bright.
Nina Maziar is an Iranian-born public policy PhD student at the University of Arkansas. She says the supreme leader's death could mark the beginning of a path towards democracy.
Democracy, in my eyes, is a procedure, and overthrowing this regime and normalizing Iran was the first step to take.
As Iranians in Arkansas celebrate, others are gathering across the U.S. And thousands of miles away inside Iran itself, Maziar says she dreamed of returning to Iran with her husband, a dream she says now feels closer in reach than ever before.
I mean, if the situation got normal, many of Iranians would go back to their own country and they will build up their own country.
While many things remain uncertain, Maziar and Samani's shared message is clear.
I want to say thank you so much, United States of America.
We are all proud that someone finally helped us. We couldn't do that alone.
In Fayetteville, covering news where you live, Laura Castman, 5 News.
Thank you, Laura. Well, while celebrations have been held worldwide, there have also been cries against Saturday's violent strikes. Protesters against the U.S. strikes on Iran rallied in cities across the country. This was the scene earlier today at Times Square in New York. Anti-war protesters gathered to denounce the U.S. and Israeli government's actions that have resulted in the deaths of Iran's supreme leader and other top Iranian officials. It's being reported that among those killed in the strikes, at least 100 people are dead after missiles hit a school in southern Iran. Similar anti-war protests took place in Los Angeles and other major cities. Meanwhile, a drone hit the grounds of the Fairmont Hotel in Dubai today as Iranian forces carried out retaliatory strikes. Footage shows a missile overhead, followed by a large fire burning at the entrance to the hotel, an artificial tree-shaped island in Dubai. The UAE's foreign ministry earlier today said it had intercepted several Iranian missiles that targeted the country and that a man had been killed by falling missile debris. Authorities said the fire was brought under control. Now, in Iran, state media said Iranian strikes had targeted U.S. military installations in Bahrain, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates in retaliation for the U.S.-Israeli strikes. Iran's ambassador to the UN invoked his nation's right to self-defense.
This is not only an act of aggression, it is a war crime and a crime against humanity. Just as the Israeli regime succeeded in dragging the United States into the quagmire of war with Iran, the United States in turn is deliberately seeking to expand the scope of the conflict by exploiting spaces in the Persian Gulf region. The hostile U.S. government dream of swallowing Iran and forcing the Islamic Republic of Iran into submission will never be realized. So long as this aggression continues, Iran will continue to exercise its inherent right of self-defense firmly, proportionately, and without hesitation until the aggression ends.
Well, as we wrap up the last day of Black History Month, the Director of African American Studies at the University of Arkansas stopped by the Springdale Library today to celebrate his new book that connects Black history to music and political activism. Dr. Naja Baptist shared about his new book called In the Spirit, in the Dark, Black Music and Political Activism. He says it's been published through the NYU Press and is the first book he's released after years of work. Dr. Baptist says the book's core focus is on the history of Black activism that's been fueled through music.
So this is the first one of my books that's coming out. I've been working on it for probably 3 or 4 years. It basically examines how citizens use music to express politics.
Baptist shared it meant a lot to present his work at the Springdale Library, saying he's grateful for spaces to learn more about ourselves. And a woman has turned her Milwaukee living room into a museum filled with thousands of artifacts that reflect Black music, history, and culture. Featuring thousands of cassette tapes, vinyl records, and magazines, Antonia Anderson, who curates the museum, says she got a lot of the musical artifacts from online auctions and flea markets. She says genres like jazz, blues, and hip-hop offer a snapshot in time that allows younger generations to learn from it. And a group of Chicago students closed out Black History Month in a special way. They staged and performed a show called Heroes of the Harlem Renaissance. Noelle Brennan has more.
Ready, here we go. And a 5, 6, 7, 8, go 1, 2, good.
Jumping jacks take care of most last-minute jitters.
Remember, nerves is okay, all right?
But Miss Cooper gets rid of the rest.
Miss Cooper is amazing. And I want you to show everything that you have been learning, okay?
Diane Cooper is the calming voice and creative mind
Let's go right here.
at Mount Vernon Elementary School on the far south side.
Be a little bit more urgent.
She's directing students brand new to the stage,
I love acting.
like 11-year-old Selena Burtz and 13-year-old Alvin Gant.
I'm dancing, I'm acting, so yeah, y'all will see me.
They're stars of a show celebrating Black history.
The doors are opening, parents are starting to come in. We're super excited.
A performance for the community called Heroes of the Harlem Renaissance.
It's telling us the experience about the Harlem Renaissance and important people from it.
I take on my life and take it on strength.
Like Langston Hughes, like I never knew about it. So the little kids are going to be dancing and stuff.
Kids in pre-K through 8th grade bring the 1920s to life on stage. They're learning history through the arts and discovering something in themselves, too.
When you're acting, I feel like your emotion comes out. Now, me doing this, like, I feel proud of myself, and I feel a connection to the arts and dance and acting. So I feel like I want to take this further.
Did you watch the basketball game last night?
You proud of these kids?
I'm proud is an understatement. Like, I can't express in words how proud I am of them.
Nerves are nowhere to be found on stage. It's just joy.
Take your bow, hands up.
A feeling that will stick around long after the curtain closes.